Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today, we're diving deep into a web serial that's become a phenomenon. Worm by Wildbow.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up, because this is a long one. Over 1.6 million words.
It really grabs you. It does not let go.
It's a wild ride worth taking.
Worm takes the superhero genre, flips it on its head, and dives deep into themes of trauma, power, and morality. You'll question everything you thought you knew about heroes and villains.
Okay, so let's set the stage for those who haven't read Worm.
Mm.
Imagine a city called Brockton Bay, practically drowning in capes. Heroes and villains are everywhere.
It's a really interesting setting.
Our main character is Taylor Hebert, a teenager who knows more about powerlessness than power.
Yeah.
She's bullied relentlessly, and it all culminates in this horrific incident where she's locked in a locker filled with, well, let's just say it's brutal and dehumanizing.
That locker scene is so important because it's not just about bullying. It's about how trauma can shape us, break us, and sometimes become the catalyst for something unexpected. That's when Taylor triggers, developing the ability to control insects.
And not just control them like some cute Disney princess.
Yeah.
She experiences everything they feel, commands swarms of them, becomes a force of nature. It's fascinating, terrifying, and completely changes her life. It's like Worm is saying that power often emerges from the darkest places, from the depths of our pain.
Exactly. And the way Wildbow describes Taylor's powers, it's visceral. You can almost feel the insects crawling on you, hear the buzzing in your ears. It's not your typical superhero origin story. It's raw, unsettling, and completely captivating.
Her first night out as a cape is a perfect example. She stumbles into a fight with Lung, a powerful gang leader who could transform into this massive dragon-like creature. It's chaos, fire, swarms of insects, and a whole lot of collateral damage.
And it highlights the moral ambiguity of this world right away.
Yeah.
Taylor, this teenage girl with bug powers, is suddenly thrust into a conflict she barely understands.
Right.
She makes choices, some good, some questionable, and the consequences are immediate and brutal.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What would you do in that situation? Faced with those impossible choices, would you try to cling to your morals, or would you compromise to survive?
That's the genius of Worm. It constantly forces you to reevaluate your own sense of right and wrong. You see heroes bogged down by bureaucracy, forced to make deals with villains, sometimes even turning a blind eye to injustice.
And then you have the villains, the Undersiders in particular, who Taylor ends up joining. They rob banks, they fight other villains, but they also have their own code, their own sense of loyalty and justice.
It's like Wildbow took the classic team dynamic. Think X-Men or Guardians of the Galaxy, and gave it this dark, gritty twist. You have Gru, who controls darkness. Tattletale, whose power is knowing things. Regent, who can control people's bodies. And Bitch, who, well, controls dogs.
This team is fascinating because they are so dysfunctional, yet they find a sense of belonging with each other. They're all broken in their own way, but together they form this strange, unconventional family. It's almost Shakespearean, you know. Tragic figures finding solace in the midst of chaos.
Absolutely. And their leader, Coil, adds another layer of complexity to this moral quagmire. He's shrouded in secrecy, pulling strings from the shadows, and his true motives are a mystery for much of the story.
Talk about a manipulative mastermind. He has this power to literally split timelines, running different scenarios to see which outcome benefits him most. It's mind-blowing, terrifying, and just one example of how Wildbow subverts our expectations.
Coil's power is a great metaphor for the choices we make and the consequences that ripple outward. He's playing a game with people's lives, manipulating events for his own game. It makes you question the nature of free will, the illusion of control.
And Taylor is caught right in the middle of this web of manipulation. She's trying to navigate this morally gray world and figure out who to trust, all while grappling with her own evolving powers. Remember that scene where she uses a swarm of spiders to trap some Empire 88 thugs in a giant web?
Oh, absolutely. It's a brilliant display of her strategic thinking, her willingness to use her powers in creative and sometimes unsettling ways.
Right.
But it also shows how she's starting to become more ruthless, more willing to blur the lines between hero and villain.
It's like she's embracing the darkness, the primal nature of her powers. And this transformation is a central theme in Worm. As Taylor gains power, she also loses something of herself, her humanity.
It's a classic cautionary tale, but with a unique twist. Worm asks, what happens when the hero becomes the monster? And can you truly fight darkness without becoming consumed by it? These questions linger long after you've finished reading.
And we're just scratching the surface here. Worm is packed with twists, turns, and unforgettable characters. It's a deep dive into the human psyche, an exploration of the complexities of power and morality, and a story that will leave you thinking long after you've turned the last page.
We've only just begun to unravel this twisted web.
Oh, yeah.
Join us next time as we delve deeper into the escalating conflict in Brockton Bay, the betrayals that shake Taylor's world, and the terrifying power of the Endbringers. It's a journey you won't want to miss.
For sure.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Worm. When we left off, Taylor was caught in a web of intrigue, her powers evolving in unsettling ways, and Brockton Bay teetering on the brink of chaos. What's fascinating here is how Wildbow uses the aftermath of the Leviathan attack to explore not just the physical destruction, but the psychological and societal fallout.
It's like the city is holding its breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
And Taylor, she's right there in the thick of it, dealing with her own trauma while trying to help others. Remember that scene with Panacea, the healer cape? It's chilling.
It's a perfect example of how Wildbow blurs the lines between good intentions and questionable methods. Panacea can heal anyone, but her power goes beyond fixing injuries. She can manipulate biology on a fundamental level, and it's hinted that she's not always doing it for purely altruistic reasons.
It's unsettling, to say the least. You get this sense that she's playing God, and it raises all sorts of ethical questions. What are the limits of healing? What gives someone the right to manipulate another person's body, even if it's for their own good?
It's a theme that resonates throughout Worm. Power, even when used with good intentions, can be corrupted, twisted, and the consequences can be devastating. This is especially true for Taylor, who's struggling with her own growing power and the increasingly difficult choices she has to make.
And let's not forget about the Undersiders. They're dealing with the fallout of Coil's betrayal, realizing how expendable they were to him. Tattletale, with her power to know things, is starting to piece together the truth about Coil's manipulations, and she's not happy about it.
Her clashes with Coil are some of the most tense moments in the story. It's a battle of wits, a game of chess where the stakes are incredibly high. And Taylor, she's caught in the middle trying to figure out where her loyalties lie.
This is where her relationship with Gru becomes even more important.
Right.
They're both so guarded, so used to hiding their true selves, but amidst the chaos, they find solace in each other, a sense of understanding that transcends words.
Their bond is a slow burn, but it's so beautifully written. They challenge each other, support each other, and their powers complement each other in fascinating ways. Gru's darkness shields Taylor's bugs, while her bugs provide him with information he wouldn't have otherwise. It's a partnership built on trust and mutual respect, something that's rare in this world of capes and chaos.
But their relationship is also incredibly complicated. They're on opposite sides of the law, and their past experiences have left them both with deep scars. It's a testament to Wildbow's writing that he manages to portray this relationship with such nuance and depth. And while Taylor is navigating these personal challenges, the situation in Brockton Bay is spiraling out of control. The power vacuum left by Leviathan's attack has created a breeding ground for chaos. New threats emerge like the Merchants, a gang of drug dealers who thrive on anarchy.
The Merchants are a terrifying reflection of the broken system in Brockton Bay. They exploit the vulnerable, prey on the weak, and their casual disregard for human life is chilling. They represent the rot at the core of society, the darkness that festers beneath the surface.
And let's not forget about the Empire 88, the neo-Nazi group that's been a constant thorn in Taylor's side. Their leader, Kaiser, is a formidable opponent with the power to control metal. He's ruthless, driven by a twisted ideology, and his clashes with Taylor are some of the most brutal in the story.
The Empire 88 serves as a stark reminder of the real-world evils that Worm tackles: hate, prejudice, and the abuse of power. It's not just about capes and villains, it's about the dark side of human nature. And as these external conflicts escalate, Taylor's internal struggles intensify. She's forced to make increasingly difficult decisions, often compromising her own morals to achieve what she believes is the greater good. She's losing her innocence, her idealism, and it's heartbreaking to witness.
Remember that scene where she's forced to use her bugs to infiltrate a hospital, risking innocent lives to gather information that could save the city? It's a turning point for her, a moment where she crosses a line she never thought she would cross.
That scene is so powerful because it shows the weight of responsibility that Taylor carries. She's not just fighting villains, she's trying to save a city that's tearing itself apart. And the choices she has to make, they have real consequences, both for herself and those around her.
It's a lot for one person to handle, even with bug powers. And just when you think it can't get any worse, Wildbow throws another curveball. He introduces Sophia Hess, a.k.a. Shadowstalker, one of the wards, the teenage heroes mentored by the Protectorate.
This is where the personal and the thematic collide in a truly shocking way. It's revealed that Sophia is one of Taylor's tormentors, the girl who orchestrated the locker incident that triggered her powers. And she's been using her power, the ability to become intangible, to torment Taylor even as a cape.
Talk about a gut punch. This reveal adds a whole new layer of complexity to the story. It forces us to question the hero system, the idea that those with power will always use it for good. And it's devastating for Taylor, who's already dealing with so much betrayal and pain.
This revelation also highlights the cyclical nature of trauma. Taylor, the victim of bullying, becomes a powerful cape who inflicts pain on others. Sophia, the bully, hides behind the mask of heroism while perpetuating the cycle of abuse. It's a bleak commentary on the human condition, the potential for darkness to reside within even the most seemingly righteous individuals.
And the worst part, Taylor can't expose Sophia without revealing her own identity, her own secrets. It's a burden she carries, a constant reminder of the injustice she's faced.
It's a brilliant example of how Wildbow weaves personal struggles into the larger thematic tapestry of the story. Worm is not just about good versus evil. It's about the gray areas, the compromises, the difficult choices we all have to make. It's about the consequences of those choices, both for ourselves and those around us.
And as Taylor grapples with these revelations, her powers continue to evolve. She's becoming more in tune with the swarm, able to access their instincts, their primal urges. It's both fascinating and terrifying to witness.
It's like she's losing herself, becoming something other. This transformation is foreshadowed throughout the story, hinted at in subtle ways, and now it's coming to fruition, mirroring the chaos that's engulfing Brockton Bay.
It's a brilliant parallel. As the city descends into anarchy, Taylor's humanity is slipping away, replaced by something darker, more primal. And this sets the stage for the final arc of Worm, where she'll face her greatest challenge yet.
We're on the precipice of something monumental. Taylor's transformation, the escalating conflict, the looming threat of Coil's master plan, it's all building towards a climax that will leave you breathless. Join us next time as we delve into the heart of the storm, where Taylor's choices will determine not only her own fate, but the fate of Brockton Bay.
Welcome back to the final part of our Worm Deep Dive. We've followed Taylor's journey from bullied teenager to powerful cape, witnessed her struggles, her triumphs, and her descent into darkness. But as we enter the final act of this epic tale, one thing becomes clear. This is where Worm transcends the typical superhero narrative and becomes something truly profound.
What's fascinating about this last section is how Wildbow masterfully builds tension. He creates this eerie calm before the storm, a sense of anticipation that something massive is about to happen. And remember, this is all happening while Taylor's powers are evolving in a truly unsettling way. She's becoming more connected to the swarm, tapping into their primal instincts, losing a bit of her humanity with each passing day.
There's this scene where Taylor and Gru are patrolling, and they stumble upon an abandoned building. It's filled with strange equipment and coded messages. It's like they've stumbled onto the blueprints of something sinister, something that could change the balance of power in Brockton Bay. And it turns out they're absolutely right.
Those blueprints belong to Coil, and his plan is nothing short of insane. He wants to take over Brockton Bay, not just control the criminal underworld, but seize control of the entire city, the government, the infrastructure, everything. And he's using the Undersiders, along with another group of capes called the Travelers, as his pawns in this elaborate scheme.
Coil's power to manipulate timelines makes him incredibly dangerous. He's always one step ahead, testing outcomes, choosing the path that benefits him most. It's like he's playing chess with the lives of everyone in Brockton Bay.
And Taylor, even with her growing power and strategic brilliance, is outmatched. She's caught between a rock and a hard place. She despises Coil and what he represents, but she's also developed bonds with the Undersiders, particularly Gru, and she doesn't want to see them get hurt.
Right. This internal conflict is tearing her apart. She tries to reason with Coil, demanding that he use his power to make Brockton Bay a better place. But Coil is driven by control, not altruism. He's a master manipulator, a puppet master pulling the strings from the shadows, and he has no intention of letting go.
And then just when you think things can't get any more complicated, Coil unleashes the Travelers on Brockton Bay. This group is even more volatile and dangerous than the Undersiders. They have powers like creating miniature suns, teleporting objects, and cutting through anything with terrifying ease. They're a force of nature, and their arrival throws the city into complete chaos.
The city descends into anarchy. There are riots, gang wars, capes fighting each other in the streets. It's a full-blown disaster. And right in the middle of this chaos, something truly horrifying happens. Another Endbringer attacks.
This time, it's the Simurgh, a creature that's not just incredibly powerful, but also incredibly manipulative. It preys on people's fears, whispers suggestions that drive them to madness. It's psychological warfare on a citywide scale, and it pushes everyone to their breaking point.
The Simurgh's attack is a game changer. It breaks the heroes, emboldens the villains, and forces Taylor to confront the darkest aspects of her own power. She fully embraces the hive mind connection with her insects, becoming a force of nature, a swarm of destruction.
It's a terrifying and exhilarating transformation. She's no longer Taylor Hebert, the conflicted teenager. She's Weaver, the leader of the swarm, and in her quest to stop Coil and save Brockton Bay, she unleashes a wave of insect-fueled chaos that will leave you both horrified and in awe.
This final battle is epic in scope and deeply tragic. Taylor wins, but at a terrible cost. She loses friends, allies, and even parts of herself in the process. The ending of Worm is not a neat, happy resolution. It's bittersweet, thought-provoking, and leaves you with a lingering sense of unease.
The world is saved, but is it truly? What is the true cost of power? What does it mean to be a hero in a world where the lines between good and evil are so blurred? Worm doesn't offer easy answers. It forces you to grapple with these questions, to confront the complexities of morality and the consequences of our choices.
Worm is a story that stays with you long after you've finished reading. It's a deep dive into the human psyche, an exploration of power, trauma, and the choices we make when faced with impossible situations. It's a story that challenges our perceptions of heroes and villains, leaving us questioning everything we thought we knew.
And that's what makes it such a masterpiece. It's a story that resonates on multiple levels, a testament to the power of speculative fiction to explore the darkest corners of human nature and the complexities of our world.
So if you're looking for a superhero story that will challenge your assumptions, push you to think, and stay with you long after you've turned the last page, then Worm is the deep dive for you. It's a wild ride, a harrowing journey, and a story that will leave you forever changed.
And on that note, we'll conclude our Worm deep dive. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of one of the most compelling web serials ever written. Until next time, keep those pages turning and those minds exploring.